Namaste. Shri Gurupyo Namaha. Welcome. So I just wanted to offer just a very short teaching from this text called A Systematic Course in the Ancient Tantric Techniques of Yoga and Kriya. It's quite the text. It's a beautiful text. And one reason I think it's so valuable is that it has the teachings or the lessons and then like practices. So you get the theory and you get the practice. So it's well worth it for you to purchase if you want it. You can find it on Amazon. So we'll start with mantra. And most of you know, I'm sure, that mantra is definitely a sacred practice. There is so much power to these mantras, and they should be treated, with care, absolutely. And we could say that, really, mantra is yoga. Yes, yoga is cultivating the dharana shakti, right? You know dharana as the kind of one-pointed focus or power. Shakti is like mana, right? It's power. And to hold the focal point, to attach to the focal point brings a lot of result because there's power, right? So wherever your mind goes, prana is going to flow. I mean, that's just the reality of maybe the expression we have, be careful what you wish for, because your thoughts yield results often, right? Depending on how much you think about them. So we'll start with mantra. And first we'll chant to Ganesha. So Ganesha is the ruler of the Muladhara. It grounds and stabilizes the prana in the Muladhara chakra. And really, you better have a foundation in order to build anything upon. So establishing the root foundation is very important. And then we'll chant mantra, a healing mantra that I learned from my teacher, Yogini Shambhavi, to Shiva. And in this mantra, we'll use our hands. And this is the way she taught me. And it's very beautiful. It's almost like you're outlining your Vyanavayu, right? Your aura. And as you chant the mantra, you may find that it gets bigger. Your aura gets bigger. So anyway, let's just do the practice, and then I'll offer you a lesson from this text. Okay. So when you're ready, just let the eyes close. Perfect. Let your hands just rest however you like. And just breathe. I mean, obviously you're always breathing, but now just be aware of it. Be aware of your breath, please. And as soon as you're aware of the breath, I'm sure you have already deepened your breath. It's kind of like the yogic way, hatha yoga. We're always doing something, whether it's with our body, our breath. So we're so familiar with lengthening with the breath, trying to control and gather and channel the breath. Very familiar to us. If you like to kind of hold a more focused dharana while you chant, maybe just gently engage the root lock. Just a little, even just thinking about it brings the awareness there. So the mantra we'll chant is called the Maha Ganapati Mula Mantra. And the way I was taught originally was Om Shreem, Hreem, Kleem, Glaum, Gam, Ganapataye, Svaha. Om Shreem, Hreem, Kleem, Glaum, Gam, Ganapataye Svaha. Om Shrim Hrim Klim Glaum Gam Ganapataye Svaha. Om Shrim Hrim Klim Glaum Gam Ganapataye Svaha. And then placing the hands above the head, almost like you're just outlining the form of your body. So the mantra is Om Haum Jum Saha Namah Shivaya. 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 Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Good. So if you like, gently rub the hands and place the hands over the eyes. Just cup the eyes. And when you feel ready, just open your eyes if you like. So we had a very special retreat the other day with Yogini Shambhavi, who's my main teacher, her and her husband, Vamadeva Shastri, Dr. David Frawley. And it was just an open retreat, right? So you can get it on the website, you can get the lecture, we'll post that for you. And basically it's about Sangha, right? So it's just questions that some of us had. And something that really stood out for me was basically, on Sankalp or Sankalpa, which of course I'm always, addressing. And she mentioned that, creating a Sankalpa is really a sacred intent, right? It's formed in the Hridayam, the spiritual heart. So maybe it's like, how shall I say, initiated in a way, which I don't really think so, but let's just talk about it this way. It's maybe initiated, or it feels like it's initiated from the mind, from the intellect, I want this to happen. But then we have to really feel it, right? It's like, kind of like, how bad do I want it? Do I really feel that sankalpa is coming from a very deep driving desire, right? From what we call the spiritual heart, the hridayam. And then it's like how I digested the webinar yesterday. Is how I digested is that, there's so many things that you can say are in your way, right? So many obstacles, and maybe it's financial or health, or maybe the way you were raised, right? Maybe the conditions of your home or your relationships that you have. So just be like, you know what? I don't know about this sankalpa. It's kind of like, maybe I'm aiming a little too high, right? It's kind of like way up there. And, you're almost defined or you're coloring yourself by your obstacles, and then the mind's agreeing with you. It's like, yeah, this is too much. And it's nice to say, like, well, we really need to overcome these obstacles, right? How am I going to overcome these obstacles? You know, like, how am I going to actually actualize, no, this is the sankalpa, and this is what I want. This is a deep driving desire, and I will accomplish these things. And clearly there are obstacles. It's not that you're pretending it's all good and there's no obstacles. Obviously, there are many obstacles. So how do I overcome these obstacles? What do I do? Can I get a method? Is there a practice I can do to kind of help out with this? Because it's challenging. So clearly, obviously, one of the methods is mantra, right? Mantra, that which protects the mind, that which expands the mind. Another method would be to, maybe this isn't the right way to say it, but to kind of let go of the past. Let go of maybe we're blaming our job, or we're blaming our spouse, or we're blaming the way we were raised, or we're blaming our conditions now, we're blaming the government, we're blaming whatever, right? There's so much. there's so many fingers that we can point. But in actuality, none of that is really helping you achieve your sankalpa. We are constantly looking at ways to almost not achieve the sankalpa, like, well, it's just my conditions, so, forget it. I'm gonna think of a lower sankalpa or an easier sankalpa. And not to say having a sankalpa, a sacred intent that may be more easy to actualize, like simply, making your bed. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a sacred intent, but it can be. Why not? Sure, those create a certain momentum. But maybe if we just stop looking to the past and beginning to actualize and increase our prana, right? Our prana shakti. So mantra is one way. I'm looking outside right now because this huge garage door is open, and I just see the palms, and there's little moths flying around and butterflies, and it's very pleasant and very sattvic and gorgeous, right? So nature, right? Nature really helps you connect to prana, right? And immersing yourself, right? Removing yourself once in a while from the city and moving into nature really increase your prana. And then here's another practice, and this is what I wanted to read to you, because it feels very, maybe rooted in the reality of perhaps where we are. So it's 2 pages, so bear with me. Again, it's from this text, and the topic of this is called self-acceptance. Accept your nature as it is now, whatever its obvious faults. Try not to continually feel that you are somehow inferior to others, or that you are riddled with shortcomings and defects. It is only in this way that the grosser aspects and neuroses of the mind will drop away. If elephants spend their time wishing they were goldfish, or peacocks spent their time wishing they were cows, they would live a totally useless and disharmonized lives. But animals live in accordance with the way that they have been designed. They have a unique role or dharma to perform in the kaleidoscope of life, and they do it. Because of this, they live harmoniously. Man should also live a harmonized, tuned-in life, but unfortunately this is rarely the case. Man can never accept himself and his faults, and in a way this is a good thing, for it motivates him to overcome his apparent limitations and elevate himself to higher realms of understanding and bliss. But generally the lack of self-acceptance is too overwhelming. It totally grinds a person into an overburdened state of worry and dissatisfaction, which leads to a life that is lived at a very low level compared to the possible potential. There should be more self-acceptance combined with the need to improve oneself. There should be aspiration for self-improvement, but not neurosis because of the faults that man sees in himself. Try to accept your present personality, no matter what its obvious weaknesses and faults, but still have the aspiration to overcome them. Non-self-acceptance as the cause of disease. The inability to accept oneself is a fundamental cause of disease. Lack of self-acceptance results not only in mental disturbances, but also in physical ailments. Mental dissatisfaction leads to a reflection and manifestation in the physical body. Anger is widely regarded as a fault, but anger is actually a safety valve for pent-up feelings. But many moralistic systems and codes say, do not be angry, or anger is a sin. Because of this, many people suppress their anger, but the driving force behind the anger has to express itself somehow. It is rechanneled. If the suppression of anger is great enough for prolonged periods of time, it results in high blood pressure or heart attack and so many other prevalent diseases. So we urge you to express your anger if it is possible. Sometimes circumstances make it difficult. Don't feel any pangs of guilt about your anger. Be angry, for it is better to express it openly than to transform it into a disease at a later date. But when you feel angry, be aware, and in time the anger will disappear. Consider another example. Every person has some desires. These are natural. They are part of man's innate nature. Without desire, there would be no motivating force in life. Children would not be produced, and so forth. Yet many moralistic codes say that desire is bad. How can this be so? How can such natural feelings as desire be bad? Because of these unnatural codes, many people feel deep unhappiness and guilt about their desires. A person feels sexual desires, but because society said it is wrong and sinful, that person becomes very unhappy and suppresses his desire. This mental suppression eventually expresses itself in disruption of the physical body, especially in the form of the malfunctioning of the sexual organs. So accept your desires. They are perfectly natural. Don't listen to narrow-minded moralistic codes. Whether you express your desires or not, however, is your business. When you have strong desires, let the thoughts come. Feel them. Be aware of them. In time, they can be transcended. The same applies with food. Many people feel their eating habits are wrong. Well, this is probably true, for gone are the days when primitive man only took food when he was hungry. Now we have food, generally too much and too rich, at fixed times during the day, whether there is hunger or not. But if you feel the need for a lot of food, it is better to indulge than to suppress. Suppression or guilt regarding one's eating habits will never solve anything. Many aspirants feel such guilt about their eating that they develop a neurosis and suppress their desire for food. The result is that the physical organs begin to malfunction, in turn according to the abnormal needs of the mind. Of course, overindulgence in food can also lead to malfunctioning of the digestive organs, but is less likely to be much destructive and serious. Accept your eating habits, but be aware. This is the way to whittle away unnatural food habits. We could go on and giving so many other examples, but by now you should clearly see the pattern. Lack of self-acceptance leads to disease. Don't try to over-discipline the mind, saying it should be this or it should be that in accordance with a certain code, for this will only lead to suppression. Let the mind be free to do its own thing, but be aware. Don't suppress your thoughts, for this will eventually lead to disease and unhappiness. Accept your thoughts, but with awareness. In time, all disharmonious tendencies will slowly wither away through greater understanding. The last thing, every person is fit to tread the yogic path. An important step in yoga is to accept your nature as much as you are able. If you can accept your nature, then we can also. Your purpose for wanting to do yoga is not important. Your religion or non-religion is not important, and your lifestyle is also not important. The main thing is that you have started to practice yoga with a degree of sincerity. Your nature is unimportant. All faults are unimportant. Your present personality is the starting point. Yoga and daily life experiences will be the means to refine your being and eventually bring equilibrium. Everyone has the ability to contact elevated states of awareness. The potential lies within. It is not made or created, but at present, this potential does not express itself because of imbalances and conditionings of the mind. These blocks are only superficial superimpositions on your nature. Each of us has the same potential. There is not one person in this world who is unfit to tread the path of yoga. If you make the effort, then you will start to tune in with yourself. But first of all, accept your faults as being merely superficial aspects of your being. Accept your nature, whether it is bad or it is good. Don't feel guilt. Accept your character for what it is, a product of circumstances. Acceptance will lead to acceptance of others. Don't suppress thoughts, whatever their nature. Accept that there are unruly traits and desires within you, and eventually these disturbing traits will drop away. Let the hidden aspects of your subconscious mind rise to the surface. Don't fight them. Don't be ashamed of them. Let them rise and face them. If you suppress them, they will still influence your whole life, but from the murky depths of the subconscious mind. So you might as well let them bubble up to the surface where you can become familiar with them. Eventually, you will lose interest in them. They will fade away and no longer disturb your life, in the same way that water evaporates from a damp cloth placed in the hot sun. The evaporation occurs without the slightest effort. The aim of man should be to find his natural role in life and stick to it. This is the basis of a spiritual path. Most people are on the path of a-dharma, in opposition to their natural inclinations. But you can never find and tread the path of dharma if you are in conflict with yourself. Non-acceptance only leads to neuroses and suppression. Accept your faults, but with awareness. This is the way to find your dharma. This is the way to harmonize your life and eventually transcend all faults and personality problems. Well, that is quite a lesson, and not one that you hear very often, right? So I hope it was valuable. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can just think about it. And yes, yoga is about awareness, right? Moment to moment awareness. And when the thoughts arise that are supposedly not yogic, right? Or not in line with your moral values, do not suppress the thoughts. Let them rise. Be aware that you're having these thoughts. And like they're suggesting in this text, eventually it's almost like you get bored of them. It's kind of like this, whatever. So thank you so much. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha.